So, how did I end up in Alaska? It's a good question. When I was in aircraft maintenance school, I believe, that was 2 years ago. When I was in aircraft maintenance school, one of my maintenance instructors was a missionary in Alaska for a number of years. And he and I got to talking. I already had interest in Alaska because of my outdoor desires. I love hunting and fishing. And so Alaska is just one of those places that kind of draws you in as a hunter and fisherman. But much more than that, when I was talking to my instructor, I had much more of a spiritual realization of the need that was there. Alaska is torn by drug abuse, alcohol abuse, which is basically drug abuse, domestic violence, depression, high suicide rates, especially in the teens. There's actually a huge amount of human trafficking in Alaska as well. And that was just stuff that I did not realize, stuff that I had no idea about. And so the first year of school was a huge year of just spiritual growth for me. And I really sensed the assurance of salvation in Jesus Christ, knowing that He had forgiven my sins, being confident in that, and experiencing His faithfulness and His grace. And through that, I really sensed that God was pointing me to Alaska because of just the outpouring of His grace, but also some of the experiences that I had growing up that I didn't really think would weigh in on missions, but that do. For instance, aviation is used a ton in Alaska, and I'm a certified aircraft technician as well as a commercial pilot at this point. Building is a need in Alaska. I grew up the son of a general contractor, and he taught me how to build. I framed with my brother a lot. I helped my dad repairing houses for homeowners. And then also just the outdoor skills, using a chainsaw. I worked for my brother for a number of years in tree service. So I'm familiar with that, and I'm just very thankful for that stuff. And as I was going through it at the time, I was like, oh, I don't really like this. But now looking back, I'm very thankful for it because it prepared me for using those skills to serve God, serving the people that are doing the mission work in Alaska. And so that's kind of, I saw a skill set, I saw a need, and then also my maintenance instructor, he was able to sit down with me over lunchtime. We would talk about missions in Alaska. We would talk about what it's like in a village. And then I went into flight school the next year, and he was right across. So there's, at the School of Missionary Aviation Technology, there's a flight group as well as a maintenance group. And I went through maintenance the first year, and then which was 12 calendar months. The second year I went through flight school, and that took me from my private pilot certification to commercial pilot, with endorsements of tailwheel, complex, and high performance, as well as a instrument rating. But anyway, I was contacted by my maintenance instructor, and he said, hey, Evan, I have something that I want you to think about concerning missions in Alaska. And what was really interesting was a few weeks earlier, I had started to pray, Lord, I really want to spend time with you when I get done with school. Because I sensed that with all the weightiness and the pressure of school, I just didn't have the mental bandwidth for the things of the Spirit that I needed. And shortly after I was praying that way, I started reading in Isaiah where it says, this is the fasting that I desire, that you care for the orphan and the widow. And during that time that I was asking God, during the time that I was expecting after school, that I was asking God for, I was planning on doing fasting. And so when I saw that, almost immediately was when my instructor got in touch with me. And so I was like, I need to look into this. And so I talked to him, and he said, I have an opportunity for you to go up and intern in Alaska. It would be basically right after you graduate. And at the time, I saw it as an answer to prayer, and so I was like, yeah, I want to look into it. And through that, a couple weeks later, I committed to going out to Alaska right after I graduated from college. God paved the way financially. I was trying to stay debt free, and I was praying about that. And at this point in college, I had been debt free, which is I'm very thankful for, because I am debt free now. I'm able to go and do mission work. And I think it is very important to have your debts paid off before you go to the mission field. It just frees you. And so that was something that that's something that I really desired. And also, it's something that I think is pretty uncommon, especially now that people come out of school with very little or no debt. But anyway, at the time, I still needed about $7,000 to finish school. And I started praying about it. And I did not stop tithing. And God was faithful to me. The last time that I tithed, it was the last amount of money that I had before I started going into debt. And I realized that, and the very next day, I got a notification that somebody had called in and paid the rest of my school, and I was very, very thankful for that. I have no idea who the person was that gave, but I've been extremely blessed through that, because I graduated from college debt-free, and I'm just extremely, extremely blessed through that. Anyway, a couple weeks after that, I had enough money that I was able to pay for my internship. And again, it was something I had to raise funds for. And God just opened the doors with that. So God just continually kept building faith in my life. And through all that, I had been courting who is now my fiance, Addie Snyder. And I sensed that this was somewhat of a test. And it was almost a question. It was almost like God was questioning, who are you going to put first? Are you going to put me first and let me work out the details? Or are you going to put yourself first? And, telling Addie about it at the time, I was like, I don't know how she's going to handle this. She took it even harder than I thought she was going to, but she, after a short time, was very supportive, and I was very blessed and thankful for that. But that's how I ended up in Alaska. And then I was there for 2 months working on aircraft, doing a building project, a little bit of flying, and then also doing some substitute teaching. And within like the first week and a half, I felt confident that that's where I, at least for the time being, am supposed to be. And so I'm heading back up at the end of May, and going to be doing it long term, as long as God wants me up there, as long as there's a need, and as long as I sense that that's where I'm supposed to be.